Hello and welcome to Manga 96, and today we're going to talk about Hataraku Mao-sama. Today's topic is the Demon King who led an army in order to conquer the world, where, after his defeat, he found out that rather than ruling over demons and humans alike, his true calling seems to be working at a fast food restaurant, where let's be honest, nobody can compete with him in that job. I'm of course talking about Mao. But before we start, here's the spoiler warning, as we spoil a lot of things in this video, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I would highly recommend that you're gonna read the light novel, as it is an enjoyable read. For everyone else, let's start with who Mao is. Sadao Maou was once the Devil King who declared war on Isla in an attempt to annex the 4 continents, where, due to the action of the hero Emilia Justina and her companions, he was forced to retreat to Earth, causing him to lose almost all of his powers. Perhaps the most intelligent and charismatic of his kind, the Devil King came from humble origins as a member of a low-class goblin tribe, yet through tireless efforts and a drive to better his people, managing to gain support from others, eventually uniting the varying factions of the demon world under his rule. Satan was well known throughout the lands of Isla as the great overlord of his people, his name synonymous with terror and cruelty, despite being true a gentle leader who sought for less destruction and casualties as much as possible. His true intentions were misunderstood due to the fact that he ordered his generals to conquer the land of Isla without explaining the meaning of conquer, thus leading for each general to conquer in his own way, leaving cruel actions and destruction in the western and southern continents, staining his name with bloodshed. While his actions in life were for the betterment of demonkind, he had to conquer the human civilization to ensure the survival of the demon race. Later, it is revealed that during the time of his invasion of Isla, he decided rather than heading to battle to instead research human society. He did this to gain information that could help him conquer Isla, but also because he had a deep curiosity and respect for human society. During this time, it is revealed that Satan actually did care for the humans he trampled during his invasion, but was forced to choose between humankind or the survival of the demon race, after which he ended up choosing the latter. His true motivation was to create a situation in which he could force the human race into producing negative emotion towards demons, thus creating large amounts of demonic energy which was starting to run out in the demon realm. He never intended to completely annihilate the human race, but to actually conquer it. He gave each of his generals free will on how to carry the conquest, but established that they must accept human surrender. Due to this, though in some cases the conquest was gruesome and full of bloodshed, like in Malkoth's case, in other cases was relatively moderate, without actually damaging anyone but soldiers who opposed the conquest, such as in Adralmich and Alciel's case. As the great ruler of demons, he was shown to be a proud and resolute individual, though his defeat at the hands of the hero Emilia and the sudden loss of his magical abilities on Earth left him with no choice but to abandon that pride and live the life of an ordinary human. On Earth, Sadao Maou is shown to be a diligent and proactive employee, instead applying his strong driven and determination to better himself in his new life. Forced to spend time living as a human, interacting with those he previously considered to be lesser beings, the Devil King slowly began to understand mankind and has since developed a kind heart and cheerful disposition, making him popular among both his colleagues and neighbors. While he does not desire to cause trouble to the world that he treated him with nothing but kindness, Satan has not entirely lost his desire for power and influence and instead strives to climb the corporate ladder at McDonald's. His hope is to legally obtain influence and wealth on Earth that will allow him to amass new resources with which to return home to Isla. Due to this wish, or in spite of it, Mao expresses great pride in his job as a fast food employee and pompously brags about the many promotions he will hopefully receive in the future, often much to the dismay of those around him. He is most impressed with the fundamentals of capitalism, as he sees the market economy on Earth as a model for his new ideal society back home. His current goal is to observe the system in Japan and establish a more civilized society in the demon realm, one where profit and trade can be used as a means to obtain power without unnecessary bloodshed. Notably, he still possesses a strong drive to rebuild the Devil's army and has constantly toyed with the idea of finding replacements for deceased generals. He is also shown to be thoughtful, well-mannered, and empathetic towards those around him, and is willing to help others in a way possible if he is able. This new disposition clashes heavily with the merciless Devil King the people of Ente-Isla thought he was, something that confuses the hero Emilia when she first encounters him on Earth. Despite her having been the cause of his downfall and subsequent depowerment, Mao displays no hostility towards the hero and even some pity upon learning that she had been stranded on Earth alone while chasing him through the gate. Despite being arch-enemies back home, he displayed great strength of character despite her hostility towards him, quietly accepting her accusation without objection and even showing concern for Amy's well-being and that of others. Naturally, his kindness confuses those who knew him back at Ente-Isla. When asked directly about his previous actions as the Devil King, Mao also expressed regret for having done so many horrible things. He regularly apologizes to the hero, though he repeatedly claims not to have understood humans before having been forced to live as one, and has come to acknowledge his integrity. While he does not intend to seek responsibility for the deaths he had caused, Mao rarely discusses it unless directly confronted. While he often appears to be clueless, the former Devil King is shown to be highly intelligent and is able to analyze each situation from a logical perspective while discerning the best course of action. This is first seen through his amassing of political power in the Demon Realm, eventually becoming its ruler, and later during his strategic conquest of Ente-Isla. Upon arriving on Earth, he not only manages to deduce the best way to survive without magic, but also uses his intelligence to spot potential assassination plots from Ente-Isla, while bettering himself in the work environment. Despite his impressive mind, Mao appears to be dense about matters regarding women. He is shown reacting awkwardly and somewhat confused by Chiyo's confession of love, although some of his comments make it sound like he does this intentionally for reasons not yet revealed. In both worlds, Mao looks out for his juniors and subordinates and believes that any leader must take responsibility for the actions of those who serve under him, prompting him to cover for Chiyo when she makes mistakes at work while on duty at McDonald's. This state of mind even extends to his interaction with Lucifer, who once severely damaged Shibuya in an attempt to kill the Devil King and the hero. After putting an end to Lucifer's rampage, Satan chooses to use his newly restored powers to repair the city and even chooses to hide Lucifer from the police. In doing so, he accepts full responsibility for the situation, even knowing that using up his magic to fix everything would render them unable to return to Ente-Isla. Even as a human, Mao retains his flair for dramatic speeches and poses. As for his relationship with Amy, back in Ente-Isla they were mortal enemies. Emilia's village had been destroyed by the Demon King's forces and her father was presumed killed. In order to take him down, she took up her duty as the hero. Satan first became aware of her existence during the invasion of the eastern continent, hearing that Lucifer had suffered defeat at the hands of a hero and his forces eradicated. Though he originally saw her as a relatively small threat and demanded that the remaining generals could put an end to Emilia's resistance, he was forced to reconsider upon learning that both Malkudo and Dermlade had fallen as well. He then reluctantly acknowledged her as a viable threat, and an Alcial instance recalled forces them to east to fortify the central continent, turning the camping into a defensive one. It is defeat at the hands of the hero that forces the Demon King to retreat to Earth, resulting in the subsequent loss of his power and much of his pride. They did not recognize each other at first when they met again on Earth. He was surprised when she revealed her identity, though remains relatively impressed until she pulls a knife out to kill him. Strangely, he does not fight back and instead chooses to run, the script ending in a draw when the police pull them aside and assume they were having a lover's quarrel. While she begins to dedicate her time to spying on him in case he reverts to his demon ways, Mao remains more irritated by her presence than anything else, even displaying pity upon learning that she was all alone in Japan. Though he still expresses a desire to return to Ente Isla and reclaim the lands there, he shows very little antagonism or ill will towards the hero and even begins showing her kindness and concern. This is first shown when they help each other escape an assassination attempt from an unknown assailant, and later when her order Archer to bring the hero some medicine and personality traits several of her wounds. Emi eventually confronts him over this change in personality, noting he is much more different than the Demon King she fought back home. When mourning the loss she suffered when his army destroyed her home, Mao admits that back then he never truly understood humans and genuinely apologizes much to her confusion. Due to the loss of her father, Emi viewed Mao as a despicable person who thinks nothing of creating destruction and bloodshed. As such, seeing his kindness shocked her extremely, for she could not reconcile her idea of the Demon Lord with his human self. While they still remained a little antagonistic to each other, the two eventually came to a truce. They have since come to understand each other better and regularly join forces to combat the continued emergency of threats from Ente Isla that pose danger to their new home and friends. On occasions, they both acknowledge that they may come when both will be the enemies again, though as the story continues, this becomes less apparent. Due to how often he interacts with Emi, Mao has grown mostly relaxed around her, almost as though their enmity never existed. He became more extremely concerned for Emi's mental health following her return from Ente Isla and the arrival of her long-lost mother, who has secretly been pulling the strings from the shadows. As Emi experiences a mental breakdown resulting from this, she openly clings to Mao for support in spite of her action might be misinterpreted over the course of the Ente Isla incident and the events afterwards. It became clear to others that Mao truly cares about Emi. However, when confronted with this information, he became extremely defensive and does not want to admit it. While it is unclear whether Mao and Emi are harboring the beginnings of romantic feelings towards each other, it is worth noting that there have been hints of some level of attraction throughout the light novels. At their initial meeting in Japan, when they did know each other's identities, Emi's radiant smile made the dark feelings in his heart fade away, and he felt awkward when he left the scene. This smile has a lasting impact on him, and he is reminded of it again during the events following Emi's rescue from Ente Isla. During the confrontation with Lucifer and Olba, Emi is shocked when she realizes that she found the smile of the newly restored Devil King's face to be charming or adorable. With this, I covered everything that I wanted to cover on Mao. And that'll be all for this video. If you like this video, leave a like, do your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel for more manga reviews and One Piece content. And until next time, take care.